make sure that we're taking those actions to get on top of things and build on our everydays. So speaking of our achievements, I think it's a really cool time, and we're here for the next 40 minutes. It's a really great time to be able to reflect on some of the things that we have achieved. And so if you've got a piece of paper in front of you, which I know you all have because you're all great note takers.
Pull it out.
And if you haven't, scraffle around and find a piece, an old receipt and please, you'll have to, we need to apologise in advance. We've got some renovations which are very exciting going on next door. And
exciting for them, not really for us.
Not really for us. Exciting for them, not so much for us. And so this morning, Holly and I have been preparing for this webinar, and we had the lovely sounds of the cicadas on one side, the building on the other, and downstairs we had BK practicing his trombone for a little while.
BK.
So
he's actually not bad.
Yeah, he's actually very good. Yeah, he's very good. So if you get some builder's noise, that's just what that is. But if you have a piece of paper, draw a line down the centre so it looks something like this. Yes, sure.
There it is.
Yes, there it is. So draw the line down the centre, and on the left-hand side, write, I've achieved, colon, and on the other side, I need to follow through. And so let's look at some of the things that we've achieved over the last few weeks.
Well, I can think of one thing that I've achieved, and that is crafting that vision that we have talked about of mine, which is something that I've always wanted to do, but never sort of, I guess, taken the time or the small steps to actually do it and write it down. And it's something that I've actually then been revisiting. So that feels cool.
And that's a really cool, that was our foundation. That was the beginning of our conversation, and really has enabled us to create some new ways of thinking, some new ideas, and given us access to parts of ourselves that we may not have had access to either before or for a long time. So if you've begun your vision, even if it's one word, that's something that you've achieved, to begin that conversation of that vision. So I want you to just take a minute now, and we'll play a little bit of happy acoustic guitar in the background here, and I just want you to write down or brainstorm, if you're with your team, at least 10 things that you've achieved, small or large, over the last few weeks. It could be that you have begun to communicate more effectively with your team. It could be that you're part of this development program. Kickstart could be an achievement for you.
It could be that you've dusted off your procedure manual.
Absolutely, dusted off your procedure manual. It could be that you've started a procedures manual.
It could be that you've started implementing your morning ritual every morning, or at least
preparing really well.
Yes.
It could be that you're only hitting the snooze button once
or twice
instead of a lot
mostly
more.
once.
Could be that we're reducing our caffeine intake.
Less coffees. Dave will be happy.
Miss Holly and I, Dr. Dave, we have green tea sitting in front of it.
Green tea.
Caffeine
no
reduced.
Coffee for us today.
Water filtered, caffeine reduced. Pure we are. So that's an achievement for us. Some other achievements for you. Some people I know, some officers have started new teams and started new education processes.
Awesome.
There's one team that's reinstating their workshops that they used to do so brilliantly, and they've decided that they want to start them again.
That's great.
Which is great in terms of spreading the word out there. Other practices, they've had some growth. What about some of those achievements, those subjective achievements, like you're feeling happier, you're feeling more energized, you're feeling more purposeful?
I've achieved starting this and doing the webinars, and another big one for me would be I've joined the BNI group, and I have to get up and speak every Thursday morning for a minute, and to maybe a DC who does a class every week, a minute is not a long time, but for someone in my position where I had this huge fear of talking in front of people, I've done it.
You've done it.
And it's now not so scary.
Yay.
I feel like I could do a half an hour talk. soon. Watch out.
Don't get too sassy.
Yeah.
Okay, so you should at least have 10. Hit me a yes or a boom. Okay, so yes. So we've got people coming through that have, we've got 20s, 18s. Great, love it. So keep those coming. And now if we look on the right-hand side and we look at the things that maybe you're needing to follow through a little more with or turn up the dial on. So it's those things as a direct result of the last few weeks. It might be that, making time to listen to the webinars, that's certainly, or re-listen to the webinars, because that's always a great thing. One of the ways we lay down new pathways is through making sure that the things that we're learning, we're relearning and revisiting and going back to. And so maybe that's something you need to follow through with. Following through with going back and revisiting your vision and your values, following through on your goals, following through on your agreements. It might be a patient or client-related thing. Following through on addressing the elephant in the room, whatever that may be. And we all have elephants in the room, not all the time, but it was interesting. I was talking with someone yesterday, and they were talking and sort of gapping around the whole relief care thing about we don't want to talk with people about pain and symptoms, and sometimes that is the elephant in the room that needs to be brought out. Sometimes it's you think that people are going to stop and you just want to talk them into that next appointment. Maybe the follow-through that needs to occur there is the follow-through of, hey, what's happening? Has something changed that I wasn't aware of? Maybe your follow-through is to get out your lists and start your procedures manual.
Oh, the list.
The list. Maybe follow-through is to actually download all the beautiful attachments that I've been sending and at least have a look over those.
Yes.
Just looking at it, it doesn't download into your system, by the way.
What about the follow-up with, you talk to someone on their report of findings visit about everything chiropractic and what to expect from their care, and this is what's going on with their bodies and their nervous systems, and then on the 20th visit, you're thinking, they should know. They should know by now. They should get it.
Yeah.
But the reality is, 20 visits ago,
and you've said it once.
And you've said it once, they don't know.
Yeah.
Or, they might be more pain-focused, even though you want them to be wellness-focused, and you might gently remind them sometimes, well, it's good to still get checked, even if you are feeling good, just to, they may have forgotten or don't remember the reason why.
Yeah. So
that follow-through with having that conversation is throughout.
Is a key. Is a really important one. Maybe your follow-through is that phone call that you have to make, that hard phone call, whether it's a personal thing or whether it's to a patient or client, team member. What are some things that you need to follow through on? At least 5 that have just been sitting there and distracting you, and we'll bring up some happy acoustic for that, Holly.
Woohoo! I'm the DJ today.
Yeah.
If you listened to the first webinar, you'd know why.
Hey! Vicky needs to follow through on watching the little Google videos or on how to be techie. So what are some things that you need to follow through? And for those people that have recently joined us, welcome. We're doing a little recap list on some things that you've achieved over the last few weeks as being part of Kickstart, either personally or within your practices, and then some things that you need to follow through with. So I know that one of the people that's just joined, one of her achievements is she joined the chiropractic family, and we're very happy to have her on board. So we're looking at the things that we need to follow through on, either personally or within practice.
And it might be that you need to find someone or something to hold you accountable for that.
Could be to get a great team of people around you.
Yes.
You're welcome, Miss Hannah. Okay, so what you have now is a little model that you can use, and I always do this on as a mental model at the end of every day, because I'm the sort of person that's, you know, on to the next, and I'm probably a better starter than I am a follow-througher. So I'm great at ideas, and I can generate lots of ideas, and one of the great things about having a wingman woman,
aka yours truly,
aka Holly, is that Holly helps me hold myself accountable to the new ideas and the follow through and the completions, because Holly will say, weren't we going to do this first before we went on to a new idea? And so for me, this matrix, if you like, enables me to, even if I'm not writing it, to have that mental check. So at the end of every day, as my head hits the beautiful pillow at the end of the day, I just make a mental note of what have I achieved today? What are the things I've achieved today? And sometimes it's a little struggle, because I might be still feeling sassy about the things I haven't achieved, and it just reminds me that actually I did achieve some things. I was able to breathe. I was able to create some great shift and facilitate some positive change for the people around me. And for me, the most important thing is that I was able to connect with the people around me, because, you know, all too often we get into we've got to help more, we've got to help the many, we've got to help the masses, and that can take away from that very important person in front of you, whether it's a patient, a team member, your spouse, your beautiful children. And so looking at those things, and just as a mental note, and then some things that you say, okay, what do I need to follow through? And for me, my mental note is, what do I need to improve? What do I need to improve? One thing I need to improve is that, you know, I could have been more better at my time management today. And so I just make a mental note of that, and I finish my day with saying, and what am I truly grateful for today? So that might be something that you could write down as a little mental note, as a completion for the end of your day, something you've achieved, something that you need to improve or follow through on, and something that you have gratitude for.
It could be as little as, I'm really grateful for my hyperactive dog, because she was so hyperactive and annoying, that enabled me to get out for that hour walk that I couldn't be bothered doing.
Yes, that's a great one. That's a great one.
A non-human accountability partner.
Yeah, the non-human accountability partner. Like it. So today's time, beautiful Kickstart family, is dedicated to some ideas on how we follow through. We're going to address some myths of change, of the myths around change and what it takes to change. We're going to address some of the not so great follow through strategies, and then look at how we can dedicate and value our time, our energy and resource into those follow through things that are going to work for us. And that's not only in our practices, but in our personal lives, and how we can pay that forward to our people. So if we were to look at the myths of change first, so when I talk about the myths of change, it's those things that we think get in the way, or those things that we think are what are going to help us change. So our first myth is knowledge is power. And knowledge, and that's a common mantra out there. And so if we educate people, then they're going to make change. And we know, any of us that have been in practice for any short or long amount of time know that education doesn't equal change necessarily. We can educate our people until we're blue in the face and they're blue in the face, and it doesn't automatically mean they're going to change. An example of that in our personal lives is we all have, and if we're all really, you know, we're all very open right now, and you know what happens on the Kickstart tour stays on the Kickstart tour.
Especially when you're feeling sassy.
And we only share it with the closest several billion of our closest online friends, of course.
Yeah.
We all have at least one thing that we know, so we have the knowledge that we know that we could do or stop or do more often or change that would improve ourselves, our situation, our practice, our bodies, that we don't do or don't do enough of. Everyone say yes. I have one. I can think of one. Dave Comley. No, it wasn't coffee I was thinking of.
Read your mind.
So so knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is only potential power.
Yeah.
So it gives us the ability to make some change. It doesn't guarantee that we're essentially going to change.
Yeah.
So one of the great things that we can do to help address that myth is to prepare, and we touched on that last week. So preparation is the key for our lasting change, because when we don't prepare, we more easily slip back into autopilot, that Groundhog Day, and get to the end of the day and say, oh, today was going to be different.
And it's comfortable and it's easy.
And it's comfortable.
But wouldn't you rather go to bed feeling like, man, I was stretched today and I overcame that?
Yeah.
Or, something similar.
I was stretched today and I overcame it, versus here I am again, Groundhog Day, doing the same thing, feeling the same way, because I didn't make those changes. And when we have knowledge and we don't make changes, it creates a real identity crisis over time. And if we just build knowledge and don't take action, it takes a real hit on our self-esteem. And particularly when we create a vision of who it is, the best version of ourselves, or the best version of our practice, and then we don't take some consistent regular action on that, then that identity gap turns into that gap between who it is, how we're showing up, and who it is we'd love to be, can be quite depressing at times.
And not feel like it will ever be closed.
And not feel like you're ever going to close that gap, versus taking small, bite-sized action pieces every single day. And as small as they are, it doesn't matter how small they are. Remember, momentum is just about taking the next easiest step.
Which is going forward.
Which is going forward. Which is rather than going back. And we can't stay still for long.
No.
The other thing is our accountability, having an accountability partner when it comes around the knowledge. And ideally, an accountability partner that not only has the knowledge but has already applied some of that knowledge in their behaviours and actions. So, for instance, if I want to get fit, I'm not going to choose an accountability partner that is less fit and less dedicated to exercise than myself.
Yeah.
Simply because when I wake up and it looks a bit cloudy outside and I don't want to go for a walk, and I ring my accountability partner and say, it's a bit cloudy out there, and my accountability partner goes, yeah, let's just stay in, or let's just go to the cafe for brunch instead. I'll go, yeah, we've been really good. Versus one of my other friends who I can, get out of bed, I'm coming round to get you, I'm going to pull you, drag you out of that bed, which I'm grateful for. And you're going to have accountability partners and be accountability partners to people. And in chiropractic, we're accountability partners to the people that we take care of. And CAs particularly, I want you to remember that. We are, as chiropractic assistants, and, chiropractic assistants just doesn't cut it for me. The whole CA thing, the chiropractic, when, we tend sometimes to be more chiropractors assistants than chiropractic assistants, and yet that doesn't even encompass it. Really, we're accountability partners, we're relationship managers, we're coaches, we wear so many caps. Most of all, though, I'd like to say we're a cross between relationship managers and accountability partners. And within chiropractic, that reads so true. It's doing things like our callbacks, our eye care calls, our recalls, which has been a common theme over the last few weeks. And if we sidetrack a little around this whole
let's talk about recalls.
Let's talk about recalls. And I'm not sure whether it's the same out there with you. However, in most of the offices I work with, and even in our office, recalls at this time of the year tend to be quite large. And if you're not doing recalls, just have a look at the files from the end of last year and the people that haven't sort of returned yet and re-engaged.
There's a lot of red in their
files.
files.
There's a lot of red in their files, and it tends, people get off track, they get in holiday mode, and it takes them time to sort of reignite and get back into 2014. And guess what? We're well into 2014.
Yes.
And you know, one of the questions that I asked in at the beginning, in just sort of in the middle of January, around this Kickstart program was, are you on track? And I think that's a great question we can ask our people. Is, are you on track? Are you on track with your health? Are you on track with being as healthy as you can possibly be in 2014? And it's a, let's not allow 2014 to get away on us.
Yeah.
And so as an accountability partner, CAs, and particularly when we've got that recall pie looming, as an accountability partner, it's helping people get back on track. It's helping people be accountable to themselves.
So that's a good way to think about it, because often, I mean, you can learn now, but then for the coming year, you don't want to be having the same conversations that you are now then. So it could be that you know, really have a think, or you sit down with your team and have a think about the conversations that you need to have with your practice members coming towards the end of the year about the importance of keeping their appointments over Christmas time.
Absolutely.
So that you're not going to get into January, February and have 100 recalls that you're resenting because there's so many. And
January, February 2015.
Exactly. So why not make those changes now and prepare for that coming time?
Which is the perfect preparation key. So maybe make a note now and pop it in your calendar for October to brainstorm how are we going to help people to stay on track over the holiday period.
Yep.
And so then you don't have the situation where people have gone since, and normally it's, you know, mid to late December, that means they've gone almost 6 to 8 weeks at least without having an adjustment. And what we know to be true is that when the body's working really hard to try and reduce subluxations, reduce that pressure on the nervous system,
and digest Christmas ham,
and adapt to all of the Christmas cheer, then the body's working really hard to do what it has to do to adapt, and that's when we tend to have these little breakdowns in the system. So CAs, if there's no other reason than you're getting on the phone as soon as you get off this our webinar today, it's because we're in a situation where we don't want people to fall off track and undo all the hard work that they've done until now.
And you'll find if you have those conversations with people coming into the silly season, like a practice that I worked for in the past, they had their record week the week before Christmas, and hardly any drop-offs over January. So that's pretty amazing, but they had prepared for that through the whole team so that the chiropractors and the CAs had the same congruent message.
We're on board and we're enthusiastic and excited. And that is one of the keys in our offices around keeping people on track. We all love to be around people who are enthusiastic and excited. We become a magnet, it becomes enchanting, and we jump on the wave of that. And you know, similar situations when it comes to our workshops. And workshops, you know, can be a bit of a dirty word in some offices. However, workshops enable us to build knowledge. Knowledge is potential power to make better choices. However, it's how we interact, how we revisit that, and how we, as accountability partners, how we help people be accountable to the changes that they want to make. And if we're doing that in a scripted, you have to come to the workshop, you've got to come and learn about the 5 components of the vertebral subluxation complex, it's a requirement of your care.
We're not going to start care until you've been to a workshop.
Then it's not very inspiring and not very encouraging, versus you have to come to this. It's the most amazing part of your chiropractic care. The things that you will learn, you are going to use for the rest of your life. And if I was you, I'd bring somebody that you really care about, because they are going to get so much information too. Who can I sign up with you? Now, that's just contagious.
Well, which date works better for you?
Which date works better for you?
Yeah.
That is contagious. Exactly the same as our calls, exactly the same as our schedule. exactly the same as in, for you chiropractors in the report of findings, yes, you've got to be, there's a serious problem that we're moving to resolving, and we're going to get to the science of that in a moment. However, the exciting part is the vision that we have for these people. The exciting part, CAs, is that we're going to get to know each other really well over the coming month. As your body begins to change and unravel some of the damage, and you're going to get to know your body on a whole different level. Being excited about in that way, rather than you've got to keep your 3 times a week for the next 4 weeks, and then we're going to do a progress visit, and then we're going to go on.
And so grumpy will stay grumpy.
Grumpy will stay grumpy, and it becomes very transactional.
Yeah.
When what we actually want, and I want you to write this in huge writing all over your pieces of paper, relational.
The relationship. Yeah.
The relationship. Make your exchanges relational. Because when we can make our exchanges relational, they hit a certain part of the system that resonates in a way that knowledge is no longer power. It's now experience.
And everybody wants to feel that and have that exchange.
Everyone wants to feel that and have that exchange. And so our second myth, so if we go back and we just recap on that, knowledge is only potential power. We need to prepare, get an accountability partner, either a formal partner like a coach. Your accountability partner over these 4 weeks is the Kickstart program.
Mm-hmm.
You can also have accountability partners in the non-formal way, in the form of puppy dogs, or friends, but choose friends who are further down the track of being the best version of themselves in that area, whether it's exercise, that inspire you,
make you want to be a better person,
that kick you in the butt when you need it,
yep, that
aren't afraid of holding you and themselves accountable. And for your people, for the people that you're taking care of, that's the preparation. So in October, you're going to brainstorm about how you can maintain momentum over the holiday, the silly season. The other thing is acknowledging congruent behaviours. So if your people are staying on track, you're acknowledging the hard work they've done till now. And CAs, that's a little tip in your calls. If you're on calls, then yes, Dr. Hannah and Dr. Dave and the team in Wellington have the amazing Cheryl. Aww. And I imagine she would be up there with one of the best butt kickers.
Oh, yeah. Go, Gil.
We love you, Cheryl. Acknowledging congruent behaviours within our people in the form of, you've worked so hard, Holly, until now. Let's not let that fall off. Let's maintain that momentum. So let's keep your appointments, keep you on track, keep up your exercise, whatever it is that you're helping people be accountable to. In our chiropractic offices, it's that they're keeping their appointments.
So it's like you're acknowledging that good behaviour and not necessarily pointing out the bad behaviour, but encouraging that good behaviour to stay good.
We're going to learn in a minute. We've got to do a bit of both.
Yeah.
However, what I believe, and as a parent, we have an expectation of our children to be a certain way, and then we forget about acknowledging the behaviours that need to occur along the way to them being the good child, or we just acknowledge the less than good things and bring attention to them. If we were to, and now I've gone on. Parents out there, acknowledge your children's gems and the behaviours that are congruent and consistent with the way that you would love them to be in their best version of themselves. And that might just mean, and I'm thinking myself now about this morning and our little Gracie and my preparation today, because I leave today to go to Melbourne for a few days, was to acknowledge Grace's behaviours this morning. And so what I did this morning was acknowledge Grace for getting dressed without a fuss, for eating her breakfast and putting her things in the dishwasher, for brushing her hair and her teeth, and I acknowledged all those, and the brightness that came over her. And it wasn't, oh, you're amazing, you're this, you're so smart, you're talented. It was, I was acknowledging the behaviours on the way. And for our patients, that's a really important distinction to make. Rather than acknowledging how great they are, acknowledging the behaviours that are getting them to express more of their greatness.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our second myth, is that it has to be perfect. It'll be better when I won't. It's like you, Holly. I don't want to do BNI yet because I'm not perfect at public speaking.
Yes.
I don't want to do these webinars yet.
Can we record it again?
Can we record it again? And this was I had this resistance of going live and going, oh, well, but if we pre-record them, we can do them over and over and over and over again.
What about the Hannah's next door?
I know. And this is the Kickstart, what goes on tour stays on tour. I have archived in my archive area hundreds of webinars that I've recorded and re-recorded, and oh no, that's no good. And for any of you who have ever seen themselves on video, I don't know whether you're like me, but I don't enjoy watching.
I don't like listening to myself.
The funny faces I pull.
So our mantra is,
done is better than perfect. And it's a little mantra that we stole from Facebook. It's all over the Facebook organization walls, and it's done is better than perfect. So what that means is that if you've got a new script guide that you're using, just get on it and do it. If you're new at recalls, as one of our team, I did a training yesterday with a brand new CA.
Pick up the phone.
Brand new at recalls, we did some role play, and we stumbled through. However, I know that she was so committed and enthusiastic about doing calls, and she lost the doesn't matter. It was getting it done is better than not doing it because it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
You're going to be more perfect in a month's time when you're getting stuff done and getting onto things than if you just don't do them at all. One of our associate, Dr. Ramsey, we call him Ramsey, he has a great saying. He said, one small action is better than one giant perfect thought.
It's true.
It's so true. So one small action, as small as it is better than a grand, big, beautiful idea and thought that never gets put onto paper. So I want you to write this on your pages. Done is better than perfect. So get it done. And for our people that we take care of, the done is better than perfect model really is highlighted in the way people utilize their chiropractic care. And there's models out there that says this is the schedule you have to have. This is the only reason that you can come in for chiropractic. We can't talk symptoms. We can't talk pain. You can only utilize chiropractic in this way when your brain and body has a disconnect to bring it back into perfect harmony. Now, of course, that is maybe the ideal vision. However, if we're applying the done is better than perfect, if we can meet them where they're at and they utilize chiropractic initially to get them over the hurdle of a body signal or symptom or some form of suffering, then we have a better opportunity to be able to inspire them and engage with them. Educate, lift them out of their hump, so to speak.
Or that way of thinking.
That way of thinking about their body and life while not judging it. And knowing that whatever they're doing is done is better than perfect along the way. So that's sort of like, well, my point in that is just don't give up on them. Just don't give up on them. And if it takes 10 calls or 10 follow-ups until they're screaming down the phone or screaming going, just leave me alone.
We've all had those.
We've all had those. Just don't give up on them, because they will, as long as we don't judge on them and make them feel welcome and special, they're going to come back and utilize our services and chiropractic in the best way they know how at that time. So done is better than perfect. And our third myth is that success is a constant. And we think we set a goal and we're going to go from A to B. So we think that success looks like this. We go from here, and then here's the goal here, and this is how it looks.
And it's easy.
And it's easy, and it's not hard, and there's no failure along the way. When actually, if we truly look at it, hey smiling cells, if we truly look at it, success looks more like that. Well, my successes look more like that scribbly line there.
Yeah.
We have the ups and the downs. As long as we have more ups than downs, and it only takes one more. It only takes us to get up one more time than we're knocked down to have success.
Yeah.
And so how many times are we willing to fail to get to success is the question. And it's the people that say, I'm willing to fail for as long as it takes to get success that are more successful. It's not the lucky people. The lucky people say, the harder I work, it's amazing. The harder I work, the luckier I get. The more I fail, the luckier I seem to get. Now imagine having that as you, wow, yes, I fell down. I'm one step closer. Now I'm not quite there yet. I don't like falling down, and I certainly don't enjoy failing.
And it's not comfortable.
And it's so uncomfortable. However, having a different context on it rather than, and seeing failure as, and I know this is a bit cliche and a bit cheesy, there's never failure, only feedback, but really seeing failure as a little bit of a feedback mechanism and going, okay, well, what worked in that failure and what didn't? Was there anything I could have done better? Do I have enough knowledge, or do I need to get some more to create more potential power for myself? And that's where maybe your accountability partners come in, or your coaches.
Yeah.
And that's why you're part of this Kickstart program, is so that we can get onto that.
You could even develop a vision board. For example, I
love vision boards.
Yeah, on my vision board, I found this really cool picture the other day, and I printed it off. You've probably seen it floating around Facebook. But it's a guy in a mine digging his way, and he's dug for miles and miles and miles. And in one sequence, he's given up digging because he's just digging and digging and digging, and he's found nothing. And in one sequence, he's turned around and walked out. And then on the bottom one, the guy is like 2 millimeters from a pool of diamonds, and he keeps going and he gets to the diamonds. And that is so cool. It just proves that no matter, you just don't know, no matter how many times you get knocked down or feel crap about something, or, you know, feel like, no, I can't do this anymore, I've got nothing left, you are 2 millimeters away from a pearl.
There's always a little more stretch in the tank.
And it's the same with patients.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're just not getting through, oh, well, I'll just refer them to a physio, or I'll refer them to another chiropractor because maybe they can help them.
Yeah.
I bet you 99.9% of the time you are millimeters from the close.
From making a shift for them, from making a change, from getting them getting them through to a new level of understanding. Now that doesn't always mean that they choose chiropractic, and that may mean, you know, if we look at our the people that we take care of, the ups and downs, seeing reactions, for instance, seeing reactions as part of the feedback mechanism.
Yeah.
And it's not dismissing reactions that people may have to the changes that are going on in their systems.
If they're not positive.
If they're not positive, making sure that we're very compassionate and have a deep caring about people's suffering. And you know, that's something within chiropractic that sometimes I get a little bit sad about, is, you know, we want to be such vitalists, and we want to be so about you know, not talking about pain and symptoms, that we get a little bit scared about addressing them.
Yeah.
And pain and symptoms as a reality are part of life.
And they're a reality for the people that are coming in.
They're a reality for the people that are coming in. And it's more, if we go to the deeper level of that, and not necessarily talk about pain or symptoms, but talk about their suffering. Nobody wants to see another person suffer, and I certainly don't enjoy seeing people that we're taking care of suffer. However, by merely stepping into that space with them, even just for a moment, and walking in their shoes about around how that might feel is a really good way of being able to build enough rapport that you see enough of, or they see enough of you in themselves to trust you enough to lead them on an amazing journey. And that's essentially where it comes back to in terms of relationships. And so we've gone through our myths of change. We've given you some tools. One of the keys around this follow through, once we are creating the change, moving through, seeing success as a process of failures and feedbacks and ups and downs, is we need to be able to test and measure that. And so if you're not keeping stats on the things that are important to you in your office that you're setting goals on, then at the very least get onto those. If you need spreadsheets and you need some data collection advice, get onto us. We can offer that. Holly is a data collection queen, and in fact I think has a little fetish on it. She loves it.
Funny because I like lists and spreadsheets, and I'm not analytical at all.
No, you should see her lists and spreadsheets are very effective and highly colourful, of course. However, if you're not a data collection person, and I know that I've had a talk with a number of you who don't like the numbers thing, who don't like the data collection, and getting stats out of you is really tough, then engage someone like Holly to collect your data on your behalf, because you do need to be able to test and measure to know.
Or I'll help you find a way.
You'll help you find a way.
Yeah. Not going to do it for you.
Pimping her out again.
We've had this conversation.
I know. Just to enable you to be able to celebrate your peaks and reassess your troughs and know exactly what they are. Because, and I know I'm talking to people that I've already had this conversation with. What you think are your numbers and your percentages, and what they really are often are
called apart.
Yes. Yes, a lovely gentle way of saying it. Yes, are poles apart. And so we need to get the real data to be able to assess and then make realistic goals running across, our SMART process, because then when you achieve a thing, those step goals towards fulfilling and expressing your vision, you're more likely to get back on and do it again. If you're setting goals that are unrealistic because your initial platform was less than
amazing correct.
In fact, it was so far from correct that it was off the scale, then that's a very good reason to be able to test and measure your progress.
And we're not saying you have to do stats because you need to focus on your stats and it needs to be the be-all and end-all. It's more a great way of engaging and looking at where you're at now and how you can improve or move forward. Because a lot of the time, whoever you are out there that don't like keeping stats, you might have goals that you want to grow, and there could be various things that you're aiming for, but you have no idea where you are now. So
exactly.
It's a great place to gauge that.
The other side of things is there may not be the capacity for the growth that you're looking for. So there's a lot of reasons to keep your data, and there's about 4 or 5 key components of data that you need to keep that give you about 10 really cool markers when it comes to your organization's ability for growth and expansion. And so if you want those, let us know and we can get those to you, or Holly can get those. she can help you and support you.
Yes.
In and squeeze you until you give them to her. So out of today, like all of our webinars, I want you to type in for us the single biggest insight you have from our webinar today. Just the single biggest insight that you've got from this webinar today, and one action you're going to take right now. You're going to get an accountability partner. I love it.
Maybe not a dog. Doesn't have to be a dog.
Yeah, not a dog.
I think mine, Vicky, would be to really keep having those conversations with the practice members that are coming in every week, even if they're lifers, as we call them in our office, people that have been coming for a long time and that will never leave chiropractic because they love it and they know it and they're there for wellness. It still is important to keep up the conversations with them around chiropractic and the value of it.
Absolutely.
Because you're often going to generate then referrals from that and that kind of thing.
Speaking of single biggest, with our lifers, the people that are there for a lifetime, our lifetime people, we could talk with them and ask them what is the single biggest improvement or change in your life that you've noticed as a result of having chiropractic care over the last gazillion years.
True. Because then you're kind of bringing attention to reminding them of their successes. So, Holly,
hey, Holly, you've been coming here, wow, for 5 years, but you're one of our veterans. What's the single biggest change that you've noticed as a direct result of having chiropractic care for this long? And they might say, oh, well, I sleep better than I have done for 20 years.
Or I'm nicer to my kids.
I'm nicer to my kids.
And my husband.
I look younger than all of my friends of the equivalent age.
Yeah.
And then we get to pay forward that to other people because we all have the people that go, oh, nothing, I don't know. Well, you might want to watch out for the sleep because the sleep really, at around this time, you might want to be noticing that. And then they'll come bounding back in going, whoa, that's so amazing. I really did notice about the sleep. Yeah. I hadn't brought awareness to it. So, team, thank you for joining us today for our Inspired Practice Kickstart webinar number 3. A reminder that this and all our sessions will be sent to you so that you can use to listen to, re-listen, and use as your training and development tools for your team. And we'll be sending you the link to our last webinar for February Kickstart. There'll be more. So thanks for being a part of today's session. We look forward to connecting again next week, which is Tuesday at 8 p.m. and the date being Tuesday's day.
The 24th. No,
the 25th. So Tuesday the 25th at 8 p.m. New Zealand time, which is 6 p.m. Aussie time. So until next time, may you expand your heart towards others and share your special gifts to benefit as many lives as possible while following through. Thanks a million.
Thank you.